Hi guys, how's it going? Hope everyone is well. We must start off immediately letting you know Shanny's channel got taken down. Yes, good news, huh? Apparently, let's see. So she got her Shanny for Christ channel taken down. So then she was on Stoner Shanny, and then that channel got taken down. And then I guess she went to Cooking with Shanny, and then that channel got taken down. So that's awesome. Oh, the rug is being pulled out from under her, and I am living for it. Listen, I've known about Shanny for a number of years now. I would periodically go and check in on her and see what kind of shenanigans she's pulling, and it was always the same. I think the thing that turned me off to her the most was her blatant racism. I always knew she was trash. I called her trash months ago on Twitter. I don't even know if she's on Twitter. I went to look for her on Twitter. I couldn't find anything, but because I blocked her, like I called her trash on Twitter, and then she like tried to start a fight with me, and I was like, I couldn't be bothered. I was like, I'm not arguing with garbage. You know, like I'm not wasting my time. But I think I said something to the effect of, I meant what I said, and we're done here. Like there's nothing more to say. And like I'm nobody. I mean, if you think about it. And she was hot and bothered. So I mean, she will come after anyone. So but now I think she has a lot more time on her hands, so maybe she'll start coming after us. I know she blames us for her life choices. Okay, cool. And I got a lot of, I caught a little bit of heat by saying, don't call the cops. I stand by what I said. And like, I'm not mad at anybody for being mad at me for saying that, not to call the cops. I knew some people would get mad, and listen, it's been said over and over again. Let's say you're watching her live stream from Arkansas, and you call the cops in Pennsylvania, and you say, hey, I'm watching this live stream. I think you need to do something about it. They may not take that call seriously. And if a lot of people do it, they're less likely to take it seriously, and they're gonna treat it like it's a prank. That's what I said by don't call the cops. And I also want to reiterate, I've heard this from different people who are way more involved in this than I am. I'm just giving you guys a rundown and just trying to make sure that I get out the word to my little corner. I'm getting the information from people who know way more about the situation than I do. And I trust their judgment. And if they say, don't call the cops, don't call the cops. Don't call CPS, don't file a report with CPS. It's being handled. So I also want to say, we're all concerned about the children, and yes, you should be concerned about the children. I want to say I've had experience with CPS because, like I said, I got sober, and of course, I think a lot of us who get sober, we go through this part where we think our job should be like a drug and alcohol counselor or something. I mean, not everyone, but a lot of us do, like, or some sort of social work, or me, it was healthcare. And I ended up doing administrative work at a methadone clinic. I basically worked in a women's drop-in center in a methadone clinic with, it was like a safe space for women and children to spend a few hours in the morning while the methadone clinic was open. I did administrative work. I got a firsthand view of CPS. CPS is a very broken institution. I don't know if it's an institution. We're gonna call it an institution for lack of a better word. CPS is broken, okay? CPS is not this white knight that's gonna come in on a horse and rescue children. And I hate to break it to you, if this is the first time you're hearing this, I'm really sorry, but CPS is broken beyond belief. I have little to no faith in child protective services in the United States. That's just the facts for me and for you. So honestly, the best possible situation for these children would be to go live with family. That's always the best possible scenario for children with parents who are addicted to drugs, or they're in abusive homes, or they're facing homelessness, or their lives are just unstable due to mental illness or whatever is going on. The best possible outcome is that the children go live with grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, somebody who's stable, who can take the kids. That is always the best possible situation. I've also known people who have gone and done the foster care classes so that they could foster family members. So these kids don't have anybody. They don't have any family. They're older, which means more than likely, if the kids get removed, they're probably most likely going to live in a group home. And group homes are a lot like jail, unfortunately. They're not good. We've seen movies, they're not good. I've seen kids come out of group homes, and I've dealt with kids on a daily basis come in with their parents. They just got out of a group home, and it's not cute. Kids have a lot of problems. And if they're lucky to, once they're placed back with their mother, I've seen women get their lives back together and become really capable parents. And that was the most amazing part of my job, is watching women come in and work so hard to get their kids back, to create a stable home and get their kids back. And I've seen it happen. It has happened, but it is rare. So when it did happen, it was just, I was like, oh my God, you're doing the deal. They'd be like, I got my kids back. Like, you did? Oh my God, that's great. And the kid would come back and they would work, and they'd continue working, and they would work on their sobriety. And yes, it is sobriety. I'm sorry, but if you're being supervised by licensed medical professionals and they're assisting you in methadone, it can still be considered sobriety. So if you are watching this video and you are on a methadone program, to me, you are sober. You are creating a pathway of sobriety. And this is the foundation that you are setting your sobriety on. And no one has any business telling you what you should and should not be doing. If you need methadone as an assistant to detoxing off heroin, which, by the way, is awful. I've never personally experienced it, but I believe you. When people have told me stories, I believe you. And if that's what you need to do to get clean, do it. I am not going to judge anyone on whatever it is they have to do to get sober. So if that's what you have to do, man, you do it. You do whatever you can to save your life. If that means methadone, so be it. If that means Suboxone, so be it. If you're being supervised by a doctor and you're taking it the way the doctor says, and you are actually working the program, you're doing it. That's it. You're doing it. Now, I've met many people on the methadone program that were very naughty. Very, very naughty. And that was not sobriety. But there were also people on the methadone program who took it very seriously and worked very hard and fought very hard and would come to me crying because they would be in 12-step meetings and they would hear from other people in 12-step meetings, oh, well, you're not sober because you're taking methadone. And I would be like, oh, fuck them, you are sober. No, fuck them. And I would tell them, no, you keep going, you're sober. They don't have any right to tell you whether or not you're sober. So I just want to get that out to everyone else. You do what you got to do to get sober, whatever it takes. I ain't going to judge, and none of us have any business judging you on your pathway. So that's that. So tangent. I wanted people to know where I'm coming from, that I have witnessed, and I know I live in a different state, and state by state things can be different, but not much, in my opinion. I don't think things can be that different. So I also wanted to put out there, it feels like the oldest child is almost suffering from Stockholm syndrome, or both children. It's almost like Stockholm syndrome. You know what I mean? Like she pulls the kid on, tell them I don't abuse you. And they're like, oh my God, Mom, no, you don't abuse us. I'm like, and all I can think of is Patty Hearst robbing the bank. You know what I mean? Like, Jesus Christ. Like, hello, Stockholm syndrome. So, I was asking questions in a live stream today because there was something I was curious about. I cannot be the only one. And I'm dying to know what sort of education the kids have received. I feel like they haven't received any form, like much education. I heard someone said that when the kids were living with their grandparents, they went to school. I know the pandemic has forced children to learn via Zoom classes and everything, but were they going to class? And I just want to point out something that maybe I think is far more serious than a lot of things. Not much. I mean, there's a lot of things that are really serious, but in my opinion, I feel like this is a very serious issue, is lack of access to education. These kids are not going to have a fighting chance if they don't have a proper education. Do they have good social interactions? I don't think they do. I think they're probably very handicapped in this area. And that's very concerning because, for obvious reasons, are they developmentally delayed by social interactions? Have they had enough social interactions with other children? Like these things that are very important to the development of children, interactions with other children. Socializing is part of growing up when I look back on my childhood, I remember all the things I did with my friends. I remember going to school. I hated going to school, but I went to school. I had an education. I had the experience. What I'm trying to say is, if school is still in session, how come no one is making the steps to register the kids to go to school? At least looking into what school district they're in, getting situated, even if there is only maybe a week or two left of school. I would have liked to have seen something like that. I know I'm asking for the moon in this department, but I'm just putting that out there, that there has been no attempts to secure these children's education. And that concerns me so much. And that was the point I was trying to make, was not necessarily that the kids would be in school, but at least hear something from Shanny talking about getting the kids set up for school. Makes me wonder if the kids have had the proper vaccinations, proper access to dental. Do they get taken to the doctor? I know there was a medical emergency with a child that was live streamed. I don't want to get into that. That's not the kind of, preventative care. Do they have a pediatrician that they see? Do they have a dentist that they see? Do they have an eye doctor that they see? I'm going to go ahead and say no. I don't know the answer for sure, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. So those things are a tragedy. But the kids are at a certain age where foster home placement is dodgy. So I just want everyone to keep in mind what they're up against, what the kids are up against. And that's a lot. A lot of brainwashing has gone on in those kids. Anyone see the boy's phone with the foil over it? I mean, my initial reaction is, holy shit, they all left their tinfoil hats back in Colorado. Where did the kid learn this? These kids have been pumped full of bullshit. Pumped full of bullshit. They don't even have the basic skills of going to the bathroom. Just think about that for a second. Imagine being 13. I'm gonna imagine 13-year-old Rachel not potty trained. Holy shit. I can't imagine these kids have been to a public school in a very long time if they're not even properly potty trained. And I hate to have to use that word potty trained, but what else do you call it? So it's just tragedy upon tragedy upon tragedy. And I have to reiterate, Drag says that they are on it and they are working on it, meaning Child Protective Services and law enforcement, they are working on it. We need to let them do their job. We don't need to interfere. And also, I'd like to remind you that while you may want to call the cops and you are coming from a good, loving place, bless you, but remember how many trolls are calling as well. And how are they going to distinguish your call from a troll call? You know what I mean? Try to remember that. You're coming from a good place, but if you're feeling away, donate to a battered women's shelter, donate to a homeless shelter, donate to, I don't know if Child Haven's still operational, centers for kids, educational services for children, low-income programs, anything that can donate in your area. Take that energy and put it towards something good that you can do in your community. Because believe me, this story is all across the country. These children are the product of severe mental illness and drug abuse. This is the product of mental illness and drug abuse, and this is something that happens every day in practically every community in this country. Maybe not to this extent. I mean, this is pretty bad. I don't know if I've ever seen a kid not be able to use the bathroom properly. So I would say this is pretty bad. I mean, it's like that child I learned about in psychology class. Like, you know, when you took Psych 101 and the wild child who lived in the woods? I mean, it's pretty close. That kid was... I mean, they have like this old grainy footage from the 60s, and this kid like literally grew up in the woods, and he was like animal behavior. Like he was just, his behaviors were animalistic. Like that's the closest thing I can think of. I'm like, oh my God, these kids are that kid. If you know, you know. Take that energy, put it towards your community, because believe me, there's a kid in every corner of this country who's going through this too. So it is no excuse. I am not making excuses for Shanny. She's a monster. Rev is a monster. They belong behind bars. That's what I want to see happen. But I worry what will happen to the kids. So it's basically like we're going to have to deprogram the kids. It's like they've been indoctrinated into a cult. They're like the Manson family, and these are, you know, they'll go out and do Shanny and Rev's bidding. If Shanny went to prison, those kids would visit her in prison, and she would still have power over them from prison. That's how abuse works. That abuse is so deep. It is so deep. Those kids would be devastated if Shanny and Rev went to prison. Be prepared for that. They would be devastated. We have to understand they have like Stockholm syndrome. They need therapy. They need a lot of therapy. That's just what I see based on my personal experience. If you've been through an abusive situation yourself, I hear you, I see you, I'm sorry. I hope that anyone who's gone through any form of abuse as a child is able to find therapy and heal. Everyone can find the inner peace that they're looking for, because we all deserve it, man, especially if you've been through a lot of abuse as a child. So my heart goes out to you if that's your story. Just know I'm giving you a virtual hug, and I'm here for you emotionally. I really am. And I'm here for you if you're upset and you're frustrated and you just want to punch a hole through the wall because you're so angry at what you're seeing. I'm here for you too. You have a right to your feelings. All I ask is that you take a deep breath and remember that call, they're getting tons of those calls. You know, be kind to yourself, take care of yourself. I hope that everyone heals from what they need to heal from and is living their best life. And I hope that you have a lot of things to look forward to. I hope you are healthy and happy. I hope that everyone who watches this video maybe goes out into the world and tries to make it a better place, because that's all we can do. So, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So that's something that is ingrained in all of us who are friends of Bill, who are in sobriety, that we have to know the difference between things we can change and things we can't change. So we're going to pass this knowledge along to the rest of the non-alcoholic world, that when you're feeling like there's just no control, say the serenity prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I can't do anything for these kids. I have to understand that. I have to put my faith that somebody will take care of them. If enough attention gets made for this, which, by the way, she's been making the news, that's positive. That's a positive thing. Attention to the problem is important, because that can make ripples of change for the children. So keep getting the word out, keep doing what you gotta do, keep sharing it, tweeting about it, talking about it, because once the news gets involved and gets wind of it, can you imagine if CNN or a major news station got wind of this story and reported it? Can you imagine hearing Don Lemon talking about Shanny for Christ or Anderson Cooper? That could be a good thing. So that's what you can do. What you can do is keep sharing this story. Don't stop talking about it. Tag whoever you gotta tag. If you think you know someone who might know someone who would know someone who knows Anderson Cooper, you should do that. Tag fucking Anderson Cooper in a tweet. You know what I mean? Hey, want a story? I got one. You never know. If enough people do it, he might actually go, why do people keep tweeting this to me? And then he'd look at, oh dear God. You know what I mean? Like, don't count it out. Don't discount the power that you do have. You have to take that power and put that energy into something that can actually do something. You have your assignments. Let's all go out into the world and do that. Put the phone down. Well, hang up the phone and get on Twitter. That is so cheesy. Hang up the phone and get on Twitter. Get on the TikTok. Get on your Instagram stories. Get on the YouTubes. Get on Facebook, because your 65-year-old uncle needs to know about this story too. So that's what you should do. All right. So I hope this helps. Listen, I think there might be a light at the end of the tunnel, but it's going to be a long, long road, okay? But maybe there can be a possible positive outcome. But I do want to let you know that the deck is stacked against these children, big time. But we just don't ever underestimate the power of word of mouth. Who knows? Something could come from that. That's all I'm saying. So anyways, take care of yourself, take care of each other, be the best possible version of yourself that you can be. And that is all you can do. All right? All right. I love ya. Mwah. Hugs and kisses to everyone. Love ya. Bye.